The head coach is sitting down with us now. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody, and Clay Helton. And, Coach, I mentioned this to Sean earlier. I always think it's a crazy stat, just given USC's history. Trojans have only won 14 times ever in South Bend, and one of those you were able to experience as an assistant back in 2011. So, and you've seen it on the other side as well. What does it take? What does it take to walk out of that place with a win?
Really clean football. Unforced errors. Obviously, when you walk in that place, you walk into history, and you for young people that walk in there the first time, they get caught up looking in the stands and going, wow, the aura of this place is huge. And the game itself, when you talk about Notre Dame, USC, is huge in that rivalry. So you got to take a deep breath as a young person, focus on your job, focus on what you've got to do, and then do it over and over and over and over consistently. The one time we came out that I was there that we won, it was probably the cleanest game we had played all year that year, and that's what you have to do.
Coach, you had a bye this week. Kind of get a chance to reset and look at everything kind of big picture. What did you take from the first 5 games that you liked, and what are some that you didn't like in those first 5 games?
I probably didn't like the 2 games that we lost with the 6 turnovers in those 2 games. Going back, having that week to be able to process both offensively and defensively to see where it all lies. Our 2 losses right now really are self-inflicted with the turnovers. You're in an overtime game that you have 3 interceptions. It's probably not supposed to be an overtime game, and you still had yourself there. And then you're playing a good Washington team up at their place, and the turnovers that happened in that game, plus getting down the 10-yard line and not getting it in with the red zone efficiency, those are the 2 things that stood out to me. The good thing that's come out of this is the experience that the quarterbacks have been given, the growth that each one has had to be able to get, to be kind of put in the fire and have the bullets fly and grow from it. That's a good thing. And our team, both offense, defense, and special teams, I thought put us in positions to win both games. And now as those kids grow, we're only going to get better and better. I look forward to these next 7 games right in a row, no bye, 7 weeks straight, and watching this team and where it's going to be at the end of it.
You're listening to the head coach, Clay Helton, on Trojans Live. Coach, where do you stand at the quarterback position going into Notre Dame?
It's looking good right now with Keaton. We've got a full pad practice tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully no setbacks. But right now, last week as well as today was a lighter practice. But both kids look good. Keaton looks good. And we'll go through tomorrow's practice, hopefully no setback, and be able to go from there.
Coach, you talked about your agenda during the bye week. Did you feel like you accomplished some of those goals?
Yeah, the biggest thing is you look at yourself, and what you've got to get better, and some of the tendencies that you're acquiring. It's a great opportunity to self-scout yourself and say, well, heck, every time we're in this formation, we have this heavy tendency, and to be able to break some of those things. So it's a great opportunity to self-scout yourself both offensively and defensively. That's what we did to maybe throw some different tendencies coming into these next 7 games.
It was the Notre Dame game last year that really inspired you to fully commit to this offense this year. So I'm wondering, what do you think you need to do to really make it count for over 60 minutes in this game to make your perimeter advantages really come through?
Yeah, in this game it's going to be extremely important. I think it's one of the better fronts. It reminds me of Utah's front with the dynamic defensive ends coming off the edge. These guys are really talented and can get to the quarterback. You saw what they did against Virginia, the havoc that they created. The nature of our offense is to be able to spread you out and to be able to attack every inch of grass while protecting the quarterback. And I think that's going to be critical in this game, is not only from a scheme standpoint of the ball getting out, moving the pocket, changing the launch point, max protecting some, but the availability to when we do have to 5- and 6-man protect, that the tackles hold up off the edges with two I think are going to be first-round draft picks in the NFL.
A little extra time to work on Notre Dame this week. What have you seen from their offense and Ian Book and what he's been able to do with that group?
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Ian and watching his growth, his maturity. He's really not only grown, but he's he's becoming a field general of that offense. He's making great decisions. Got a little rust off early at the Louisville game, and ever since that time, you saw him turn the ball over a little bit, but ever since that time, man, has he secured the ball. You're looking at the top turnover margin team in the country right now, and it has to do with him. He's making great decisions right now. Right now, really only had one interception, and that's at the Georgia game that shows up. So he's really being a great field general and not making the mistakes.
The game there 2 years ago, bottom line, Notre Dame won that game at the line of scrimmage, particularly that offensive line, which was the best in the nation that season. They ended up having 2 first-round draft picks, but they've been very consistently good the last few years in terms of the offensive line. Now that you sort of had 2 years since then, do you feel like you've grown enough on the defensive front that you can compete at the line of scrimmage in a game that could be very physical?
Yeah, I look at that game last November, and really, you look at that game. It's a 10-7 game at halftime. It's a game that went all the way down to the end, and it was really controlled by the defensive line and how well they played in that game. We had some turnovers in the red zone in that game, and should have been a little bit more ahead. But I thought it was really the defense that stood up against a really, really talented offense last year that was putting points on the board. Need to do that again now on the road. Defensively, I like how we're coming together. Did some really good things against a good Washington team last week, against a good Utah team the week before. Now we face, I think, one of the more complete quarterbacks and offenses that can get an 11 personnel, 12 personnel with huge people, huge targets. And it'll be a great challenge for us. I can't wait to watch it.
Coach, you talked about it a little bit, trying to get a tough road win. What are some of the things when we're watching the game to point to USC, pulling out a big win in Notre Dame?
Yeah, for me, you always want to pack your run game, kind of like we did at Washington. Take a little bit of that pressure off that quarterback, and if you can have another 200-plus yard run game day, that would be great. I'd pack that right now. Great defensive play and be able to control the line of scrimmage. Make Ian try to win it with his arm. We've got to do that. Obviously, maybe create some great special team momentum. And then for me, at the end of the day, and I addressed it in the opening team meeting, this is as good a turnover margin team as we'll face all year. I think they do a great job of trying to strip the ball out, punch the ball out, creating opportunities for their offense and turnovers. If we can come out and have a 0 turnover day, we'll not only be in the game, but watch out.
2 years ago, it was felt like a summer day in South Bend. We watched the sunset. It was gorgeous weather. I looked at the forecast for Saturday, Coach. I'm not liking what I'm seeing as the man will be down there on the sidelines with you. I know you're not too worried about it, but do you factor anything in like that, preparing the guys for cold weather, rain, or whatever wind that might come up here in the Midwest?
Yeah, you always practice your wet ball drills and things like that. It looks like the storm's coming in on Friday.
They just miss it.
It's going to go from a great 72 degrees to about 48.
One day off.
Yeah, but it'll be good. It's fall. It's supposed to be a little chilly. Here comes a little bit of cool weather, which will be nice, and it's part of the mindset going on the road, being tough-minded and knowing that get comfortable with the uncomfortable. So I'll look at you, Jordan, while you're on the sideline.
I'll be wearing my big coat, biggest coat I own, Coach.
Coach, I know it's a bye week and it's got to be all about ball, but did you get a chance to kind of step back and just get away from it a little bit? I know you can't say you took a big vacation, but did you get a step away for an hour?
Yeah, you know what I did? I got Friday night. I got to go out on the road recruiting, which was great. I got to go to a high school ball game, and then Saturday I did get to take Miss Angela, my wife, out to dinner, which doesn't happen very often. So I got to recruit her a little bit Saturday night, and then came back in the office Sunday, and really with no tape to grade, really got another day ahead with Notre Dame as well as prepare for practice. So it was nice having Saturday to spend a little time with the family.
All right, Coach, we appreciate you joining us. As always, can't wait to talk to you about this one next week. USC Notre Dame on Saturday, 4:30 kick here in the Pacific Time Zone, 7:30, where we will be in South Bend.